The capture of Nicolás Maduro, the largest U.S. military operation in Latin America in decades. In the early dawn hours of January 3, 2026, Venezuela's capital city of Caracas was shaken by massive explosions and the roar of warplanes, marking the start of a bold and unexpected U.S. military operation that resulted in the capture of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores. President Donald Trump personally announced the success of the operation in a televised address, describing it as a decisive blow against dictatorship and narco-terrorism. The operation, which lasted less than 2 hours, stands as the most significant direct U.S. military intervention in Latin America since the 1989 invasion of Panama and the arrest of Manuel Noriega. Political and legal background. This intervention comes after years of escalating tensions between Washington and Caracas. Since Maduro assumed power in 2013 following Hugo Chávez's death, the United States has accused him of supporting terrorism, drug trafficking, human rights violations, and election fraud. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice formally charged Maduro with narco-terrorism, offering a reward that eventually reached $50 million for information leading to his arrest. The U.S. also recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as Venezuela's legitimate interim president in 2019, further isolating the regime internationally. With Donald Trump's return to the White House in 2025, the administration adopted a tougher stance toward what it called the socialist axis in Latin America, backed by strong support from Congress and the intelligence community. In the preceding months, a noticeable U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean region, including reinforced bases in Colombia and Puerto Rico, and the deployment of aircraft carriers fueled speculation about a potential direct intervention. Course of the military operation: the operation began around 2 a.m. local time in Caracas with intensive airstrikes, targeting key military sites to neutralize Venezuelan defenses. U.S. forces employed advanced fighter jets and cruise missiles launched from warships in the Caribbean Sea, along with drones. Primary targets included Fort Tiuna military base in Caracas, the main headquarters of Venezuela's military command; La Carlota Air Base, home to most of Venezuela's fighter aircraft; La Guaira Port, to prevent any naval reinforcements; air defense systems and communication facilities in the states of Miranda, Aragua, and La Guaira. The airstrikes were followed by a rapid ground operation carried out by U.S. elite units, particularly Delta Force, which specializes in high-risk capture missions. The team stormed the presidential compound or Maduro's location, arresting him and his wife with minimal resistance. They were immediately evacuated via specialized CV-22 Osprey helicopters to a C-17 military transport aircraft, then flown out of Venezuelan territory. A notable feature of the operation was the near-total absence of organized air resistance, suggesting possible internal cooperation from elements within the Venezuelan military disillusioned with the regime. Explosions and limited ground clashes lasted about 90 minutes before U.S. forces declared full control over primary objectives. Logistical support and participating forces: the operation involved joint forces from the U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force, with support from law enforcement agencies like the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA. The aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford served as the Naval Command Center, surrounded by destroyers and cruisers equipped with Tomahawk missiles. Support aircraft launched from bases in Puerto Rico and Curacao. No U.S. casualties were reported, while Venezuelan reports mentioned civilian and military deaths and injuries, particularly around targeted bases. Immediate and future implications: the remaining Venezuelan government declared a state of emergency and general mobilization, but the military appeared partially paralyzed. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez temporarily assumed power but faced immediate internal defections. On the streets of Venezuela, reactions were mixed. Celebrations in opposition neighborhoods contrasted with anger in pro-Chavez areas. Internationally, Russia, China, Cuba, and Iran condemned the operation as imperialist aggression, while countries like Colombia, Brazil, and most democratic nations in Latin America welcomed it. In the United States, the operation received broad bipartisan support, with expectations of Maduro's trial in a federal court in New York or Miami. This operation is expected to open a new chapter in Venezuela, potentially leading to a peaceful power transition under international supervision and economic restructuring for the collapsed nation. However, observers warn of the risk of chaos or civil war if armed resistance from Maduro loyalists persists. The event represents a radical shift in U.S. policy, as ward foreign-backed dictatorships, serving as a reminder that the era of strategic patience has ended.